So we're back again. And you're just flicking through a book. Do you want to tell people what it's called?
Yeah, just noticed this. It's called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. A Roadmap to Financial Freedom and Fulfillment by John Lee Dumas.
So tell people what you were just saying, because that's why I just quickly hit record, because I thought there's something here. Just tell people what you were saying when you were flicking through that book.
That it's almost like a modern Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. So this guy, Dumas, he's got a podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. He's interviewed, what does it say here, 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs while amassing hundreds of millions of listenings, and he's put this into 17 steps. And I was just flicking through it, and it's talk about stating the blindingly obvious.
So read out some of the titles then that he's got, because I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, so we've got not in any order: launch, create your content, design your content production plan. What else have we got here? Join or create a mastermind. That was the bit that made me think about Napoleon Hill. Find your mentor, choose your platform, create your avatar, discover your niche, identify your big idea. And what's the other one? Increase your traffic.
Yeah.
Kind of obvious. There's nothing in here that's
different. And that's what I thought when you were reading that out. I thought there's got to be thousands of business books out there that basically say the same thing. So why is it that if the steps are so obvious, so repeated, so known, because I reckon most people who just listen to that list go, oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, of course, it's obvious to plan out your content. It's obvious to get some mentorship or whatever. Why don't people do it? Because that seems to be the thing that holds people back. When you talk to people, and we talk to a lot of people, and you say, have you thought about this? Or why don't you try this? They go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Why don't they do it? What holds people back from actually taking that step?
That's like the question, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
There's another one here. I will attempt to answer it in a minute. Implement systems and build a team. I don't know if this is in any order. Diversify your revenue streams.
But this is all stuff that we know.
I think there's... I remember going networking 7 or 8 years ago. I network quite a lot, quite enjoy it, and it generates business for us. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And I remember chatting to a guy, and he was not, I won't say complaining, but he was talking about the realism of running his business, and it's hard, and he can't get the right people, and cash flow is really difficult, and he's got he had a really nice product. But everything was very lumpy. He would get really busy and then not be able to do anything in terms of marketing and sales. And then the work would finish and he'd have no work. So we'd go and do loads of marketing and sales, and then he'd get busy again. And it was like that feast and famine, and I talked to him over weeks, and he never really asked me what I did, or he might have and not understood it. I don't know, or I was just really boring, one of the two. But I remember finally having a conversation with him where I got to explain what I did and the sort of people that I worked with. And he literally looked at me and went, so you coach business owners? And I said, yeah. He went, well, why would I want one of those? And he had spent the last several weeks explaining all the challenges in the business, all the areas that if he could fix them, it would be better. The opportunities that he had, but he wasn't sure how to address them. All things that would be in this book that have relatively simple solutions. But he couldn't even get past the principle of opening himself up to external help. This is, I'm not making this about me.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of line I use often with many people, when there's resistance. You know, you and I have spoken a lot about, we understand, again, we go back to, choose your avatar, that we won't work with people who don't already desire improvement. We will only work with people who are looking for or have looked for coaching, mentoring, a space to be challenged, groupthink, whatever you want to call it. And if they don't want those things, and we have to sell the principle of coaching, we know even if they start with us, they will leave at some point, because their starting point is resistance. They're having to get over the resistance. And I think there's this, I always use this line, which is, I'll say to people, did you go to school? And most people put their hands up and go, yes, of course I did, okay. Does anybody play any sport here? And typically half the hands will go up, okay. In order to get better at school, did you have a teacher? In order to get better at sport, did you have a coach? And they'll put their hands up and, yeah, of course, Invariably there'll be somebody in the room who plays golf, and we talk about how golf coaching and practice and everything is also difficult. And these are all luxury items, if you like, whether they're learning to play the piano or the guitar for the first time, or sing or sport or swim or whatever. Okay, swimming might be a life skill, but not if you live in the middle of Birmingham. And but as soon as I say, so you run this business and that's responsible for delivering a lifestyle for you and your family and your wider community, it is the linchpin of everything that you do and your definition of success. You've never had any training in it. You've not been brought up in an environment that encourages that sort of thinking. Why would you not get help? Why would you not get support? And they can't reconcile the two. That, if I want to be a better tennis player, well, the first thing I do is join a tennis club and get a tennis coach and have some lessons. But surely if you want to be a better business owner, join a business club and get some lessons. Why is there any different? I did. And it's a really, it's a fascinating question, because you're right. Everything in this book, and many books that we've read, I'll say have all the answers, because you're right, it would be too easy to just pick up the book, listen to podcasts, and apply some of those principles and be more successful. But there is this block within people, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know what the answer is, that creates this sheer bloody mindedness of resistance to being open to help or external influence. I just don't know. I find it quite alien. Because I've always been the sort of person that if I don't know how to do something, I'll just go and find somebody else who does know how to do it and either get them to do it for me or ask them how to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I just get frustrated. And I do know some people, like most of our clients are like that, for example. But there must be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of really good pieces of advice out there in book form and podcasts, etc. I want to know, and I know it's your question as well, what is stopping people? Do you know, it goes even one step further. The number of conversations we've had with clients where we've clearly articulated a solution to a challenge, and a couple of weeks later we catch up with them and they've not done it. And they're in exactly the same situation that they were before.
So that's comfort zone. And that is, in part, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. There's fear of failure. There's fear of the unknown. There is maybe some fear of they don't know. It's uncomfortable to step away from what they already know, even if what they already know is that their business isn't doing that well, to take a step away from that, it could get worse. It could get better.
Yeah.
But their brain goes, well, I don't know. So I'm going to hedge my bets and stick with what I do know. I think that's part of it. I think some of it is, and this is a bit controversial, but I think some of it is sheer downright laziness. We all know that if you want to lose weight, you have to reduce your calories and increase your exercise. We all know that if you want to improve your sleep, you have to do basic things on your sleep hygiene, turn off electronic equipment, create a dark environment, do
Reduce
deep
the
breathing,
temperature.
we know these things. And it's the same with business. All those titles that you read out in that book are all things that most business owners know, have heard of in some form, whether it's on a podcast, read a book, someone's talked to them about it. I'd challenge that I would think nobody, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think nobody hasn't heard of at least one of those.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it? Why don't they do that step? If you know that, I don't know, the first thing you need to do is identify your niche. Why do people not take time to sit and look at that every year? Is my niche still the same?
Do you think people who are, I'm holding my fingers up in quote marks here, successful, because you know my view on success, do you think generally they have applied all or many of these principles, not necessarily consciously?
I think some people get lucky and they just hit the right thing at the right time, and it flies for no reason better or worse than somebody else who has the exact same product and doesn't fly. Sometimes it just hits the mark at the right time.
But I'm just going to jump on that for a moment, because the assumption is there. I think there are lots of people who see opportunity, and some people choose to execute a plan to make the most of that opportunity, and some people don't. So is it luck, or is it actually not being lazy and choosing to do something about that opportunity?
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Behind every successful person, there's a shed load of practice, isn't there?
Yeah.
Some of it, I do think that there isn't a small element of being in the right place at the right time. But in conjunction with that, I think there's a huge amount of effort that goes on behind the scenes to make that apparent luck happen. And we've all heard people say, oh, well, you're so lucky, it's all right for you. And we talked about that a few weeks ago as well. Yeah. But actually, most of those people are not sitting doing nothing in their spare time. They're either learning or they're refining or they're thinking about their businesses. I think the key difference for me in all of this, and going back to my original question, is the people who I see being successful in whatever that means to them, take action. And it might be that they step forward by 1 millimeter, but they take action. And I think that people who are fearful of taking action, often it's because they're trying to bite too much of the pie. So they're, taking those chapter examples that you read out, they're trying to do the whole thing. Well, who is my niche and who do I want to speak to and why is that important? Well, let's just stop. Let's just answer today, who are your current customers?
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we can say, well, what industry do those current customers sit in? What's their gender and income demographic? Next question. If you bite, one of my favourite quotes is, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. And I used to say that to my kids a lot. And I think too many business owners try and eat the elephant in one bite. Yeah. And then they panic because it's not possible to eat the elephant in one bite. They can't answer the question or do the research in one day. And they're quick to go, oh, it's not working. So I'll just go back to my comfort zone, back to what I know is safe, back to what's okay. And I'll be okay with being okay and not stretch myself because I'm too fearful of failing.
I had a conversation with a client this morning who we both know very well. Not that one. who, by his own admission, just gets very, very easily distracted. Very easily distracted. And finds it very, very hard to discipline himself to take the action required, even though he knows that will benefit him. And, he said to me this morning, I've really got to get back to, no, what was it? He said, I had a web inquiry through my website. Somebody filled out a form, and it's for a nice piece of work. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to conversation with this person. He said, but it made me think I haven't had one for several weeks, and I should get back to doing my regular LinkedIn posts, because when I do my LinkedIn posts once a week, I get more web inquiries. So he knows he can actually equate that the very simple output of 1, maybe 2 LinkedIn posts a week leads to an increase in inquiries on his website. It is data-led, not finger in the air. He can track it.
Yep.
But he still doesn't do the LinkedIn posts. Not consistently. And then he gets fretty because he's not getting as many inquiries and as much work, and he looks at his cash flow in the future and goes, ooh, I'm going to run out of money and blah, blah, blah. Even though he knows, and it's a bit like, you're going in for an operation next
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And this may not be the case with you, but, I've got a friend of mine who's had a knee op done, arthroscopy. And the surgeon said to him, look, it'll hurt, but the more work you can do to build up your quadriceps before the surgery means your recovery time will be much quicker.
Yeah.
And I suspect there are some exercises that you can do that will enable that as well. And this friend of mine has gone, okay, and he's done the exercises. He's had the op. He's come out, and before timeline was released, essentially. And I've got other friends who have been in the same situation who didn't do the work because they put it down to, I'll be all right, I'll worry a bit afterwards or whatever, come out, and then they've got incredibly frustrated because of how long it's taken them to recover. And the 2 friends I'm thinking of, the one that didn't do the prep work, like the pre-rehab, if you like, started moaning with the one who did, saying, oh, it's all right for you. You're so lucky, you recovered after 6 weeks.
No, but they put the work in.
But they put the work in before they needed it. And I think the mentality is equitable, isn't it? That we're talking about the same thing, that some people have this ability to see an opportunity, put the work in to try and realise that opportunity so that it becomes substance, become a 10-year overnight success. And others don't, and then complain about or are jealous of those people who became instant overnight successes because they didn't see the 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe controversial. Maybe not everybody that runs a business should be.
Well, I think we know that. I think that's quite clear. Just generally, statistically, even not everybody should. But I think it comes back to is if you can run a business, lots of people can run a business. If you want to run a successful business, you have to put the work in and you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with anyone else, be honest with yourself. What do you know? I would challenge anybody. You know what you need to do. And if you don't know, find somebody and ask them. It could be your best friend, it could be your husband, it could be whatever. But find somebody and say, what do you think I need to do? Because I guarantee they'll be able to tell you as well. Even if they're not business owners themselves, they probably know because it's not rocket science. And if you know that you struggle to take action, let's go back to your LinkedIn example, what can you do to make sure that that happens regularly? Yeah. It could be outsource it to someone who can post for you. It could be as simple as put a reminder in your phone. It could be join it to another habit. And we talked before about habit stacking, it could be join an accountability group, and that's one of the things that we do a lot of. Whatever you need to do, and only you really know how you work and what's best for you, but figure out what it is. If you can't do it off your own back, figure out what you need to do to make it happen. That's it. And then take a step. Take a step. It doesn't matter how small a step it is. It just matters that you take a step and that the next day you take another step. Because if you, not even inch forward, but if you take a millimetre step forward every day, in a year's time, you'll have done 365 millimetres. If you do nothing, you will have taken 0 millimetres forward. That's the basic premise of it. It's better to make tiny, tiny steps and inch your way forward than to just sit there and go, oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow.
And I think it's deeper than that, because the reward you get is 365 steps compounded.
Yeah.
I'm not working out the maths on that one.
John Lamberton, he's your bloke for compounding. He loves a bit of compounding.
He does indeed, doesn't he? But you're right. It's if you move 1% forwards each day on top of the one, what you've done the day before, that quickly compounds into great success. Do you think there's a disconnect between the long-termism of building a business, people's perception that there are successes out there that genuinely did happen in their minds overnight, and the kind of instant gratification culture that we currently have in and around us? And I'll give you an example of that in an incredibly short period of time relative to human existence, we've gone from finding wood dry enough, working out how to light it so that we get light and heat, to flicking a switch. To within 3 or 4 years not even having to flick the switch, but just tell Alexa to turn the switch on. Okay, and we're designing laziness into our lives. People will call it convenience
or efficiency,
but I think it's designing laziness into our lives. Okay, efficiency, yeah, but it's not like that. Efficiency is creating space for people to do other things more productive.
I think that depends. I think it can. And I think that efficiency, laziness, whatever you call it, is fine if you then use that space for something else productive for you. Productive for you may be taking a break on the sofa and reading a book or having a sleep. That's okay to do that. We're not talking about being 100 miles an hour every waking hour of the day, because there are different ways of being productive. But if you don't use that time, if you just waste it in whatever way wasting means to you, then I think it's laziness. If you use it to be efficient, then I think it's effective use of time.
I mean, do you think, like I for instance, I would never listen to my or any other podcast just sitting. I'll always do it while I'm in the car or on the tube, or do you know what I mean, where I'm kind of captured, because that's efficient. Because I can't read when I'm in the car. Yeah. So I'll read when I'm at home and I'm not moving. But I just want to come back to this principle of, has instant gratification, efficiency, created a mindset of expectation of gratification?
I definitely think that there's an element of instant gratification, and I think that is exacerbated with each, as I said, generation, but it's faster than that. Every 2 or 3 years go fast, and our expectation is that things happen quicker, happen more instantly, happen with, even down to things like setting up automatic rules in your phone app or your email system or whatever. We are streamlining life, really. So I think, yes, there is an element of instant gratification, but there are certain things that you just can't shortcut You know, you can't. You know, we talked a few weeks ago about how gaining customers is a bit like dating.
Yeah.
And you can't fast track dating and marriage. There is a program called Married at First Sight,
and you could pay for it, but that's
you know, there are some cultures where there is you know, an element of you haven't met the person before you get married, but that doesn't shortcut it. It doesn't shortcut the relationship. It only shortcuts the legal status. Whether it's on the program or you know, a culture that promotes that instant marriage, you then have to begin the process of getting to know that person. And I think it's the same with business, is whichever way round you do it, you can't shortcut those routes. You have to go through them. You can try, but it will keep leading you back until you've gone through that process.
But I guess my point is that I think, I wonder, and I don't know because I'm not in everybody else's head, but I wonder whether people look at successes that others have over short periods of time, which is in fairness becoming more common, because you know there are, I mean, I can reel off, ironically, you know, 5-6 people I follow on Instagram who through lockdown didn't have a business, didn't intend to start a business, and now are essentially millionaires. Maybe not in profit, but certainly are building multiple streams of income and significant wealth through having a presence on social media.
Yeah.
And I think people see that and go, well, I'll just do the same. You don't need an avatar. You don't need all these bits. They've fallen into it. They've just jumped on there. But what they haven't realised is that those people that when you look behind the scenes and you have conversations with them, you know, that reel that you watch for 5 seconds and dismiss took them half an hour and 8 times to get right, and the rest. That pattern that they showed you, jumping rope or doing a workout, took them 15 goes and they were exhausted by the end of it. And they're doing it every day.
And there's the key. It's consistency.
And it's consistency every day.
People think that whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, that the 2-3 minutes, 15 seconds, whatever it is that you see, that's all the effort that somebody's putting in. And it's not. Those people outside of those few seconds, minutes, are consistently building their business, growing their revenue, doing the things that they need to do to make that happen, and everything that goes with it. And they have problems, and they'll have supply issues, and they'll have difficult customers, and that's not unique to any business. Everybody will have those. But the bit that you see is that 15 seconds, 2 minutes on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. And that's not the whole of their business. They still have to take those consistent steps. They still have to figure out what they need to do. The difference that I think that those people have, and I'm talking particularly kind of Instagram and TikTok, is that they're generally younger, especially TikTok people, you know, the people on TikTok, I should say, not TikTok people.
They might be young as well.
They're younger, often, 20s and 30-somethings, sometimes a bit younger than that. And they are not frightened of trying, and they just go at it. And if it doesn't work, they try something else, and they keep trying, and they keep trying, and they keep trying. But they do it all the time. That's how they get good at it. And it comes back to, you know, behind that instant success is 10 years of practice in various formats.
I mean, I guess it's no different at all to, you know, the reasons behind the book. Yeah. You know, just turning up day after day after day, hitting that ball against the wall. And I failed a lot. And it just never occurred to me that I should stop. Yeah. But you, especially as you get maybe a little bit older and carry scar tissue, that you start to question whether you should continue. And then you start comparing yourself against those people without scar tissue who have made the success, and it becomes a bit overwhelming, I suppose, and a bit unfair that it's so easy for them. I don't know.
I just think people should stop comparing themselves to everybody else and just get on with their journey. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't matter what other people are doing because they're not your business. They're not you. They're not on your path. Just take the steps that you need to do. Yeah. If you know that you need to post on LinkedIn to get consistent inquiries, post on LinkedIn. Just get it done. Whatever it is that you need to do, employ your child to do it. Find a VA to do it. Put a note in your reminder in your phone notes. Stack it with another habit so that, you know, every Wednesday you go to the gym and straight after the gym you do a LinkedIn post. Whatever it is that you need to do to take that step, just do it. Make it happen. If you need accountability, and I was saying to you before we came on air, I've started back on my health kick, and to help me do that, I went and found somebody. I don't even know who this person is. She's in a group that I'm on Facebook, and she was saying something similar, and I just happened to say, do you want to be accountability buddies? And all we're doing every day, at the end of the day, is saying, this is what I ate today. But it's enough to make me go, oh, I don't want to eat chocolate.
I don't want to share that.
Because I don't want to have to tell her at the end of the day that I've eaten chocolate. It was enough to stop me having a can of Coke on the way here today. Because I don't want to say at the end of the day, I had a can of Coke and I failed at the very first drink that I had in the morning. You know, that's that's me. That's yes. What I need. I know that helps me make progress. And once I've done it for a day, I can start going, I've had a bit of success here. So tomorrow, I don't want to break my streak. Yeah. I want to be able to say that for a week. And what I'm going to do for myself is at the end of the week, on Saturday, I'll say, if I've kept it for the whole week, I'll have a can of Coke. That's my treat to myself. That's my reward for sticking to it. But I can't have it if I don't stick to it. And I think business owners need to find whatever it is that works for you to make sure that you take progress. It could be accountability. It doesn't have to be. It could be just consistent, regular habits that you do. You know, every morning you get up and you know, we all reach for our phone and check our emails and our social media. Why can't you reach? Well, many people do. Yes. I'm certainly guilty of that. Why can't you reach for your phone and do a LinkedIn post?
Yeah. So, good topic. I like that a lot. There's a lot there that we could talk about even more.
I want to know, for people listening, what do you do or can you do or think you should be doing to take consistent steps, however tiny they are? What are you doing?
And I'd like to know, genuinely, when I would say everybody listening to this knows what they should be doing to move towards success. What do they think stops them? And busy isn't a good enough answer. It's not a good enough answer. We're all busy. You know, I ran a time management workshop for about 60 entrepreneurs last week. And the first thing I said was, bad news. Okay? You can't manage time because time doesn't care about you. It just drifts along. We don't even really know what time is. We use it as a social construct so that everything just doesn't happen all at the same time, you know, all at once rather, and so that we can create order from our days. But the one thing that you can manage is yourself. And when we talk about time management, what we're actually talking about is self-management, you know, and how you comport yourself and the choices that you make and what's important to you. And we talked about, you know, this principle of there being a fixed number of minutes in the day, because we all agree, you know, whether you are in, you know, Australia or, you know, Germany or the UK, we all agree there are 24 hours in a day and 60 minutes to each hour. That's 1,440 minutes. And if you're really famous and really successful, say you're a Mother Teresa or a Donald Trump or a Barack Obama, they don't have 3,000 minutes in a day. They have the same number of minutes. What separates them from those who are less successful is the ruthlessness with which they choose to spend those minutes. And we are frivolous with ours and then wonder where the time has gone. Whereas I think successful people, you know, whether you're an athlete, businessman, politician, or anything in between, they can answer for every minute that they've spent. And every minute is filled with value and what's important to them, or the mission they're on, or the vision that they're trying to create. I think most people just drift. And that's why they don't get the success they need. They don't see, you know, you can go through all the chapters in this book and they just don't place enough importance on it. Because they don't place enough importance on it, they choose to do other things instead.
Just do one thing. Just whatever it is, doesn't matter. Pick one thing and take some steps towards that.
Yeah, or one step towards that. Super.
Fabulous.
See you next week.
Yep, see you next week.